So the MCI is one of the most mysterious and important events in the FNAF timeline. It's the reason why the animatronics are possessed, among other things, and it's one of the first things that we ever learn about in the very first game back in 2014. But one thing has always bothered me: there's never been any definitive proof for when it took place. Years like 1985 all the way to 1987 are suggested from evidence found within the games and the books, but nothing really seems to stick. The convoluted nature of the lore also doesn't help, especially since I believe this story was supposed to be subjective. Following my theory about the DCI being an interpretation of the MCI and Save Them, I think I came up with a solution. Consider this: the MCI could have stretched over a longer time period than we may have thought, and it wasn't a singular event, or even an event that just spanned a couple weeks. Instead, it spanned between 1985 to 1987, ending with the death of Cassidy and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's. Hello, and welcome to Cherry Soda Broadcast. I'm your host, Soda, and I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to be talking about the FNAF lore, so grab your flashlights and some extra batteries. I know you'll need them. We're jumping headfirst into the flip side. Now, before we get too deep into the pit, please give me a like and subscribe if you want to see more of me. If you loved or hated my video or my theory, let me know in the comments and we can have some friendly discussion, or just come by and say hi. With that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So the first reason I have for thinking that the MCI spanned over a few years is that it's just more satisfying in the narrative as a whole. The information that we have is extremely vague and has changed a lot throughout the years, which honestly isn't even really a bad thing. I mean, it's kind of fun to have a mystery to solve. The MCI definitely happened sometime after Charlie died, which I think was before 1983. And speaking of Remnant in 1983, I want to bring up Dave. I think the death of Dave definitely pushed William to murder, but not for the reasons you may think. I mean, he's been watching the puppet for a while and he's seen how it's become more active, and it's not a stretch to say that there was probably more spiritual activity after his son died, so he could have seen it as an opportunity, because that's all his children are to him, opportunities. I feel like it's pretty generally agreed that the MCI happened sometime before FNAF 2, because it would have been a good excuse for a rebrand, especially considering that they advertise having these new super safe animatronics, built-in criminal databases, and the ability to crush your skull, apparently. And if these measures failed, well, then they'd have to shut down. I think another good reason for this would be realism. You see, large groups of kids going missing is a really huge deal. You know, even just one kid going missing is a tragedy in a community. People usually search for months and don't give up ever. 5+ kids in one summer, in one day, would be insane, especially in the same place. I mean, unless they just have GTA cops, or no one cares about the kids, but I feel like that would be a little bit unrealistic. You also have to understand that the population in a 1980s Utah town would be significantly smaller too, so people would definitely care and know about this and want to help. And also, William has a lot to do. He has multiple businesses to run, and he has 2 children at this point. So I don't think he gets to spend as much time experimenting with Remnant as he'd like to. Too bad. In real life, serial killers carry out their crimes over the span of a few months to years. This is often why they go undetected for so long, because it can be hard to link the crimes together, especially if they take place in different places, which for William is not the case. I think he probably committed his crimes in or around Freddy Fazbear's, so he'd probably have to be a lot more careful. He'd probably spread them out over a couple months, I would imagine, 2 even years. I kind of wish we got a little bit more insight on his experiments and what exactly he was doing, just because honestly I like science fiction. I think it would be cool, especially with some of the stuff that we saw in the movie. I want to know more about Freddy Fazbear. Why do they need that in a Freddy Fazbear's? I would imagine he would also spend a lot of time doing experiments and observing the animatronics, as well as planning what he's gonna do differently the next time. And honestly, we don't even know this dude's timeline. Like, he was completely fine with staying in a back room for 30 years, so this could have gone on for so much longer. And I would imagine that Circus Baby's Pizza World probably took a while to set up. You know, for all we know, if Follow Me didn't happen and he didn't get spring locked, he could have been doing that for decades. Actually, I think Sister Location just straight up proves this with some of the blueprints that we see. I mean, he was literally building kidnapped robots. Who knows, the accident with Circus Baby probably could have prevented hundreds of deaths. So yeah, I definitely think that he planned out the MCI very meticulously. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I am going to share my timeline of events. In the early years of 1983, a young Charlie Emily is locked outside of Fredbear's family diner. She cries at the window and begs to be let back in, but the other children ignore her and continue to keep playing. So then she sits on the curb, alone in the rain, until someone comes along. A purple car pulls up next to her, and it's Mr. Afton? It's her father's best friend. She knows this guy. She's seen him at Christmas, at Thanksgiving. She plays with Dave and Elizabeth almost every weekend. She doesn't think twice when he offers to drive her home. I mean, why would she? Henry holds on hope for a long time after his daughter disappears, but eventually he decides that he must shut down the old Fredbear's location. He still holds on to the feeling, though, that his daughter is still around somehow, and that maybe he'll have the opportunity to see her again. But with the death of Dave, Fredbear's has just become too painful for him, so he shuts it down. Things start to look up when the company makes more progress on the Fazbear project. It's a new restaurant, new characters, new theme, new everything. A perfect chance to start over again and put this all behind them. After all, the events at Fredbear's really tainted the name of the brand, and a new restaurant could be just what they need to regain the public's trust. At the end of the year in 1983, the new and the very first Freddy Fazbear's location is opened. Before long, an entire year passes since opening day, and it really seems like it could have changed for the better. The kids love the animatronic characters, the pizza, and the arcade machines, and parents feel more at ease now that they know that there are cameras watching diligently from every corner. Well, almost every corner. Ever since the bite of 83 and the possession of the marionette, William had been keeping close tabs on the animatronics. He'd figured out that both Dave and Charlie had possessed them somehow, but he wasn't sure why. This was the closest anyone's ever come to bringing something back to life, he thought. Why stop now? Why stop when you're on the cusp of discovering immortality? He just needed more time and more test subjects. The community was thrown into grief yet again in 1984 when a little girl named Susie went missing at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The cameras did their job and captured video evidence of a mascot character leading her into a back room, but because of the costume, they were never identified and she was never found. Time would pass, the seasons would change, and slowly but surely people forgot about the little girl. But William was far from done. A few months or even a year later, he struck again, this time targeting two brothers. The possession last time hadn't gone well enough. It wasn't strong enough. He needed more. He needed to try again. That night in Hurricane, a mother waited all night for her two boys. They never came home. As more time went on with no evidence being found, the public started to get angry. Rumors about a serial killer at Freddy Fazbear circled around, but no one had any proof. The police even carried out an investigation, but even after questioning William himself, they came to a dead end. It felt like a waste of time. I mean, how could he have done it anyway? He was a little odd, but harmless. He was also pretty beloved in the community. After all, he did own the town's favorite pizza joint, and he was a single father who lost his own son not too long ago. But the public didn't forget, and just in case, the police kept a closer eye on Freddy's, and parents were more hesitant to let their kids go out alone. Some became more vocal about their dislike of the restaurant, the lack of cleanliness and safety in the restaurant, and the ugly, stinky animatronics. If they wanted to keep their customer base, Fazbear Entertainment would either need to step it up or rebrand completely. The final straw happened in 1987. Another child early in the year vanished without a trace from the arcade at Freddy Fazbear's. The company needed to act now if they wanted to save their brand and their investments, so they finally decided to rebrand. They would build new, safer animatronics with a built-in security system that would identify predators and hopefully prevent any more disappearances. Best of all, they could save some money and use some of the old parts of the original animatronics as scrap for the new ones, but they still didn't bother to clean them. At this point, you may have noticed that I've forgotten someone very important, Cassidy. Now hear me out about this. Now let's talk about Cassidy for a minute. I think Cassidy is an older child or even a young teenager. She's a lot more aware than the others and is even able to write clearly in the logbook. Her voice actor also sounds like an older child or a younger teen instead of a little kid. She's also capable of more mature emotional reactions, like her forcing William to suffer in hell forever. Old Man Consequences telling her to leave the demon to his demons also makes me think that she's a little bit older, because she might not be able to understand that if she was a very young child. That being the concept that it's not worth it to hurt people who have hurt you, because in the end it only brings you more suffering and it's better to move on. Not forgive, but to move on. Moving on is good. Cassidy is the last victim of the MCI. I believe this because she's the last one to appear in Give Life at the very end there. And honestly, her being the last one makes a lot of narrative sense, since she died from being spring-locked, which meant that she suffered the most out of everyone. Maybe William didn't discover agony until later in his experiments. She's also a lot more powerful, even able to make people hallucinate, as well as being more sentient than the other animatronics. This is probably because he used a different method, honestly. What makes me think that she died in the FNAF 2 week is Phone Guy's quote, right here.
The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
What strikes me about this is that he genuinely sounds very disturbed here. We don't know exactly what the suit was used for, but it was probably very bad. Probably worse than whatever William was doing, honestly. Like, if he was just dancing around the pizzeria in a fursuit, I don't think that he would have this much dread in his voice. I really like the delivery of now none of them are acting right. There's just something that feels so hopeless about it. Honestly, R.I.P. Ralph. You were a real one. So yeah, Cassidy died in 1987, and this was the event that I think got the pizzeria shut down, as well as the bite of 87, given that the last bite happened with Fredbear. I think it's fitting in a way, something significant happening to Golden Freddy would make sense to happen in the same time frame as a person getting brain damage. Symmetry, my friends. Some additional proof that I have that the MCI happened at least over a few years is the newspapers in FNAF 1. They don't really strike me as being published within weeks of each other, or days. The wording makes me think it could have been months or years. And Phone Guy's call in FNAF 2 when he brings up something tragic happening and assuring us that it's outside of the restaurant makes me think that maybe the killings have started happening again. And wait, you might say, oh, well, this is proof for the DCI, and you guys know that I do not like the DCI. And honestly, narratively, it's just more interesting if it's spread out more, because I feel like it gives him more time to experiment. And I feel like it would create this very tense atmosphere around Freddy's. There's no way that this place wasn't infamous in town. Anyways, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. I post videos like this every week, so if you enjoyed this one, check out my playlist on my channel and join the party. Also, I was thinking about covering some of my favorite FNAF fan creations and also some of my own. So if you have any you want me to check out, or any that you made, let me know. I'll be happy to cover them.